And we are recording.
Cool. Well, I'll say it again. The ending was very like I don't think there was there was definitely a better way to end it. Just do it. So
yeah, it felt very sad. Like we just get hit with, well, she's like kind of depressed, and then her grandfather dies, and then I was just like, oh, this poor family. But yeah, I thought the ending was like the epilogue portion, like, or like the last thing that she says was kind of sweet with her dad, that moment that she shared. But yeah, it was like all of a sudden I was just like, whoa.
I agree. It did just get real sad. And then I was like, okay, you're just gonna throw this all on us.
Yeah.
I thought she was gonna like bring it back and be like, oh, this is why I'm writing the book. This is like what I have been doing, or like, you know, what led up to it. Cause it's like she just stopped because it got so bad. It's just, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think something that stood out to me too was that whole like experience in the courtroom with that one kid who was like talking about how he just wanted to kill people. I was like, oh my goodness.
I know, it kept going too. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think his name was Tyrone. Yeah, and then the whole thing about the Virgin Mary, I was like, okay, this is interesting.
That was really weird. When I was reading it, I was like, she can't, like, she has to. I was like, what? You have to say something.
Yeah, I
And
think
she never did.
right. Yeah, and I think the whole thing kind of comes back to like how she was saying like, no, it's not me that thinks this, it's her, and how, you know, what it means to be an interpreter, and how, you know, she really kind of gets into that in these last few chapters, just talking about how, you know, she wants to like make up for this guilt or whatever that she has, and how people are looking at her differently, and it just becomes too much. And you know, I felt so bad for her after, like, you know, going through all of this. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it even started like in chapter 14 of her like publishing the article about the nasty
I think it's the nasties. I think yeah,
the nasties, and then them all getting like, look, they all lost their jobs, they all like had all these issues after it, and they were like, she was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean this to happen. And they're like, it's fine. They're like, this is what we understood to happen, so whatever.
I think it was incredibly brave of them, you know, to have that response to it, because I mean, if I lost my job, I'd be really angry. And
Right.
like that one kid I think got shipped off to Puerto Rico, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness. But I think how brave of them to, you know, be, I hate, like, it's the wording's wrong, but like be so accepting of their situation, you know. And I mean, I commend them for that, because that's incredibly brave, and it's a hard road, but
Yeah.
So I kind of I've been kind of against this book for a while and everything, of course. I don't think I'm going to say anything new, really. I didn't think that there was any new information presented in this section pretty much at all. I think that throughout this entire book, I've just been trying to find my own way of kind of understanding this in light of the course objectives out of what she's saying. And it doesn't really feel like something that's meant to, doesn't really feel like she's trying to educate us. It feels like she's just kind of complaining, like all over again. And that's how I see it. I understand if that's a little controversial. But all I see is throughout this section of the book was like, while I was reading it, I was like, I think that she's trying to get me to feel sorry for her, and at this point, and I think that's and the writing method kind of lowered my opinion of Harvard graduates now. I'm not really. I always thought that Harvard people were really smart and they could do anything or something like that, but I'm less of that opinion now. But it just seems like the last part of the book is less about actual, like, I don't know, it felt like an autobiography, and it is kind of an autobiography. I think it's kind of supposed to be, but at the same time, I kind of got sold on this because it was supposed to be for a particular reason, like something to get out of it, but it doesn't really feel like that. It feels like just like, here are the problems that I have, and even with the interpreting thing, I think she was trying to go somewhere with it. She's like, I just can't stop interpreting. And I'm just like, but you can. Like, I don't really know. Obviously, not in the same situation. Can't say like I have any relatability in that. But like, she's like, oh, I just can't stop interpreting, and like I can't stop putting myself into these bad situations, and I just like feel bad. I feel guilty about all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, that's like part of it. Like the whole theme of the book is just like guilt from parents for putting their burden on their daughters, and then guilt from this author who like somehow feels like some kind of like projected guilt from being I don't know, like a coda, kind of, sort of. I don't really know what she's feeling guilty about throughout this book. I understand what she's saying. I think that she's feeling guilt because she sees guilt, and she's kind of like taking that on herself. And I think that's kind of what it concludes, but it's not very specific. I don't think that she ever really came to a conclusion at the end, but I don't know. The whole book just, and then the way she ended it, it's just like the epilogue. It's just like, oh yeah, we were at my sister's wedding. The end. It's like, geez, did you have a deadline to hit, or I don't know.
Well, it kind of makes me wonder too, because she was saying how when she was interpreting and doing all this other extra stuff, that she got behind in her work. She didn't meet her deadlines and all this stuff. So I'm wondering if on the side, while she was writing the book, she was doing 10 million other things. And so that's maybe why it was so off track and everywhere. But I agree with what you said. I did feel like the book was her just complaining the whole time and her just trying to make us feel guilty for her, which, I mean, I get, like, that's sure, that could be a point of why you write a book, but also, like, why? Like, there wasn't, like, a overall, like, this is what I've learned from it, or overall, this is, you know, what you should gain from my book, or whatever. I didn't really.
It's not organized at all.
Yeah,
like
no.
at all. Like, this is like, I woke up at 3 a.m. I had this dream and I sketched it down, and then I numbered them, and those are going to be the chapters kind of book. It's like, not really. Yeah, no. I doubt the other groups are giving such a scalding review of this. Probably gonna watch this and go like, gosh, you guys are ripping this book apart or whatever. But
I have a feeling the other groups are gonna say the same thing, because I mean, why would they not?
I mean, some people are just trying to do these to get the point, say the right thing, do whatever. But like, I'm not trying to make anyone feel good about this.
You're digging deep.
I don't know. I just thought that this book was a chore. So if anyone wants my recommendation as to whether or not we should keep this book in this course, I'm gonna give it a no. But that's just my opinion. My opinion.
I think it's important to keep in mind that, you know, this is just one overarching coda view. And I did enjoy that, like, you know, she did throw in at the end like some other codas who were like, oh yeah, I felt the same thing and stuff. So
But it took her until the end of the book to bring that up, though.
yeah.
And then she didn't ever really. I mean, I think I don't know. They've been broken up so many times that like remembering back to what else I've read in this book because it's just not rememberable. I can't even remember if she did even talk about other perspectives besides the coda. Did she? Yeah.
Well, she did get into the nasties, but I mean that is like a very specific sort of perspective, I guess.
Right.
So
Didn't happen to her. She didn't bother.
Yeah.
So pretty egocentric.
yeah, I did like enjoy hearing about her parents. And a lot of this is just like, you know, what do I know? I'm not a coda. I'm a hearing kid, you know, so my opinion, I guess, doesn't really matter on it because I've never known her situation. But like I felt like there's still like, despite the complaining and stuff, there were things to take away from it. Mostly, like I said, it comes from the end where she's talking to other coda kids and talking about the guilt and like that moment where she talks to her sister about it. And I do feel bad for her because in some ways, just like, you know, that pressure as a child to have like all your family members say like, you're responsible for your parents. Like, I can't imagine that, but I do agree it could have been written or like articulated in a different way, I guess.
Yeah. I do think, I mean, she put her parents in a better light at the end of the book with like the wedding and everything and kind of going back to like how they're living and how they're not really letting their deafness affect them and like them just living their lives and doing everything. And, you know, that kind of made me happy. I was like, oh yeah, you're showing like them having their normal lives, or if they go to a restaurant and stare, her mom was staring back. So I thought that was really funny, you know. But it's just like showing how her parents have kind of maybe just overcome those awkward interactions with hearing and other hearing individuals that they, I think, talked about in the beginning, to where they're just kind of living life and they don't, in my perspective, they don't give two craps about anything.
Yeah.
So I was like, and they're also obviously getting older, so they're older adults too. So like you have to also put that into perspective of older adults just don't care as much anymore when they get to a certain age, I feel like. So I think that was also another add-on to that. But
yeah, and I think it's interesting, like because we're reading this in 2021, you know, and wait, yeah, right. Oh my God, I just forgot
yes.
here for a second. And so it's easy for us to be like, well, why would you do that? In a time period where it's not completely accepted, but it's more accepted and people are more open about it. But in like the 70s and like even moving into the early 80s, it was still kind of taboo. So that was interesting for me to kind of read between the lines and say like, oh, like back then, you know, it still was seen as something wrong, or like as a punishment from God kind of thing. What she talks about in that one chapter, but yeah.
Well, this was published in 86, so
86?
sorry, 87, 86. Yep. So it's been a hot minute for this book to be out and about. I mean, it's still like relevantly new, kind of, but in the sense of, like you said, Zane, if she went to Harvard and she wrote this does not put Harvard writers in very good light, because it was still the 80s. Like, it's still, you know, somewhat recent. Like, I wouldn't blame it on, oh, well, it was so long ago, they've changed now. Well, not really, but, you know, I don't know. It could be like the one out of the bunch to kind of just had a really bad book.
Do we even know if she actually graduated? She went, but I don't remember her.
She
ever saying-
never sang, yeah.
Hmm,
Sang. She
interesting.
never said.
I don't know. I think we could probably like, if the four of us like revise this book, I think we could make it much better, which is saying something because none of us are Harvard grads. So
We're just ripping on Harvard grads.
Mm.
that I know of, one of you might be, and for whatever reason you decide to come here to Missouri State.
Definitely not.
Oh man. I don't know. I'm glad that the book's done and I don't have to worry about it anymore.
I think that's pretty much all we can really say about it. I don't really
Yeah.
think there's anything else, unless you want me to just keep dissecting the fact that I really hated this book. There's really nothing
Yeah.
else we can get out of it. I don't know.
Well, it was
Go
a
ahead.
really short ending, so there's nothing really to dissect anyways.
It's like, oh, and things keep going and things keep going, and I'm depressed, and my parents are still having issues, but they're all right. It's like she was having a conversation, and she just decided she wanted out of it real fast, and she's like, oh yeah, they're doing good, bye. And I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, not really what to say.
Yeah, I would really. Oh, something else. I would almost like a follow-up from like her parents' perspective, like what do they think of the book? What did like how much like do they agree with what she says? That kind of thing. I think that would be interesting to look at.
But then you also have to think that, I think in the beginning of the book she stated how, their education was kind of there, but it wasn't there. So their literacy skills weren't the best. And so it's kind of like, would you have someone sign the whole book or would you have someone try and help them through reading it? Because I think not that it would be challenging for them, but I know she's brought up like their letters and some things that they've like had troubles with.
Yeah, like they wrote more
reading literacy wise.
Yeah, they
So
wrote more like an ASL than they did in English.
So just like maybe seeing if they are able to read it. But that's just from the knowledge that I've been given from her. Because they could have gotten a lot better over the times. She never followed up. So you don't know if they've are still struggling with that or if they're not struggling with it anymore, or it kind of seemed like when she left, her sisters had to kind of take over helping her parents, and obviously they were going to be there only for so long, right? So it was kind of like, what are they gonna at that point,
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway is that this is from a CODA perspective. It's not necessarily about deafness, but how deafness has affected her. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think that's it, unless anybody, because I've been in chatty Cathy the whole time. So if anyone has like any final thoughts about it, I guess.
Closing remarks.
Yeah.
Because I think we still have 9 minutes that we have to be recorded.
Oh, okay.
Because don't we have to have it for 30 minutes? Am I wrong?
I'm not sure. That's a good question.
No,
No,
We don't?
we don't.
I don't think so. Eden is sitting right in front of me and she said no. So,
Yeah, I don't think she ever set a specific time limit.
yeah,
Really?
I don't think she did either.
If you want to go to 30 minutes.
Oh my gosh, if we're done, we're done. I'm not going to hold you guys longer than we need to. That's why I just said it, because I thought we had to. But if we don't, we're Gucci, man. We're fine.
You're Gucci. Yeah, I'm not reading a sequel. I'll put it that way.
Is there a sequel?
Is there a sequel to it?
I hope not.
Oh.
God save us.
Oh, man.
Oh,
Well, I guess that's that then.
It was fun.
It was.
It's been nice chatting and slamming this book to the ground.
Good work, team. I'm proud of us. All right. I'm going to stop the recording.